Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is another edition of the Third Leng Podcast. Hello, everybody. I'm Edgy Tim. Joining us tonight, well, it's just I'll say it, it's a stellar well, not so much that guy, Leng, but this guy, Scott Hamilton, we're very happy to welcome into the show. Recently retired, longtime head coach of the Unity Rockets. And Coach, great to see you. I know the last time I saw you might have been down at Champaign for something, and we're just thrilled you've got a few moments to join us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Gives me, keep my high school football mojo going here.
No doubt, Matt. I'm sure you have a few things you'd like to ask the coach.
It's good to have you here, Coach, and I have a lot of respect for you. I was telling Tim off the air that I started a long time ago and was coming to those clinics at Illinois when we had about 1,000 coaches there. And I can remember you walking around, and I barely knew Jason Kirby at the time. Pat Elder and John Elder were friends of mine, and I was just getting into the business, and you were doing great things at Unity, and you kind of created that cathedral in the country out there at Tolono with a lot of great memories, great success, but you did things the right way, and you always treated me with respect, and I thank you for that. And this is a great platform for us to talk high school football, and welcome to our show with your retirement going on. I hope you have a good time tonight with us.
Hey, thanks. Looking forward to it.
Scott, as far as the retirement goes, how hard has it been this fall? Has it been hard at all this fall?
Yeah, not really. I think it was time. I think one of the things that made it easier was turning it over to, guys that have been with me. My D coordinator, he stayed on as the D coordinator, and he's been, him and I came to Unity together in '94. Tony Reeds took over as the head coach. He came to Unity in 2004. A couple of our players that played for me are still on staff, so all those guys stayed on. So I know that we got a really good group of kids there right now that are seniors, and I know they're in good hands with all of our guys. So I think that's made it a little bit easier knowing that I can trust the guys that are there.
Matt?
Well, I was just going to say, Coach, when you knew this time was coming, and I kind of admire you because it was kind of low profile. It wasn't a big reunion tour. There was not a big to-do about it, and I know people were pushing you for that answer. But, when you kind of knew that you were going to step aside, did you do it by design in order to kind of keep the cupboard completely full? Because we don't know this for sure, but from what I've talked about, people I've talked to, reliable sources, and one of them is a very good friend of mine, and Coley Welder at Monticello. Tolono Unity has a really good football team this year. Was that by design? Coach, anytime we bring up Coley's name, we got to
do it. Oh, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing we do. It just, I don't know, it just kind of stuck. I'm sorry,
I'm
Coach,
a
go
name
ahead.
Dropper, and he likes to make fun of me, so there you go.
Yeah. It's a really good group. We knew it when they were freshmen. There was 35 freshmen that came out that year, and we knew this was maybe one of the most special groups that that Unity's ever had. But it was important for me to, when I turned this over and I knew that one of my guys wanted to do it, it was important for me to leave them with something that they could be successful with. And Tony and I, Tony had a little bit different take on it. When I told him that I wanted to go and leave this great group with him, he's like, man, that's going to put too much pressure on me. I just as soon you stay one more year. And but you know what? He's doing a great job. They're off to a great start. They got a huge game Friday night, and I reserved my spot right next to Coach Fink up in the press box, on top of the press box for Friday night to watch a great football game.
So have you been to a game yet, or is this going to be your first one?
Nope. Watched some of them on, watched it on NFHS and stuff like that, but I haven't been to a game yet.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's great. I got to ask, going through, looking at records and what have you, whether this is correct or not, 291 wins.
Yeah,
And
a lot of
really
great players
special
and
group.
great coaches. So they made me look good for a long time, and started with our administration and everybody down there. It's a great place to work and coach. And I came there from down in Hardin Calhoun, where it was great, and coached with played for Charlie Rach at Roxana, who was a big mentor of mine, and Rick Johns, and was coming up to Unity for a couple years, and then going to get back down south where I grew up and all that. And here we are 32 years later, and still Philo, Illinois.
So I'm looking at 291 wins, and I'm hearing you talk about what a great group you had coming back this year. You couldn't hang out for just a little bit longer and kind of push that odd 291 over the big 300. You couldn't get to that one more year?
Yeah, that got brought up obviously a couple times, and actually somebody asked me about that the other night. But I guess I never wanted to get caught in a number, and if if my legacy or if what people take from me, if not getting to 300 creates a difference, then I probably didn't do things the right way down here. So, I wish that it would have been. I wish that one more of those would have been one of those 6-day championship games that we couldn't find a way to win. But no regrets looking back, and met a lot of great people along the way, and that's probably the toughest thing that I don't get to see a lot of people that I saw, and miss a lot of those relationships that you have in the profession. So I appreciate you guys having me on to be able to talk some ball and keep me connected.
Coach, you're welcome for me talking to you at Casey's when you're getting your donut and your coffee and welcoming you onto the show. You're welcome about that. Hey, let's talk about Hardin Calhoun. When I first started my coaching career, I started at Spoon River Valley High School with Larry Johnson. And Larry obviously went on to Geneseo and did great things. And, some of the things that we talked about when we were just trying to kind of create some sort of football concept at London Mills, Spoon River Valley, which is now co-opted with Lewistown and Cuba. And it's a juggernaut of that type of atmosphere over there and those eroded populations. But one of the things that Larry would always stress to us is like, I want to bring a physicality to this football program is very similar to Hardin Calhoun, because when I started there in the mid 90s, Hardin Calhoun was it was kind of the measuring stick. Could you just talk a little bit about that influence that Coach Johns and all those guys had on you? And what was your first role at Hardin Calhoun in terms of your coaching responsibility?
Yeah. So, it was a summer day, and I had interviewed at Pleasant Plains for a math job and a basketball job. And Coach Rach came to me and said he had a football job for me at a small school that he had been, that he started coaching at. And I'm like, well, where's that? And Hardin Calhoun. And I said, okay, didn't know a lot about them at that point, being, a 5A, 6A program that I grew up in at Roxana. And so met with Coach Johns, and then, ended up getting a job there in fall of 92. And, if you've never been to Hardin Calhoun, it's a very interesting place. The people there treated my wife and I fantastic. Learned a lot. I learned a lot about, the river living and hunting and fishing and all those types of things. But man, Coach Johns had built such a program there that was based off of all the right things and playing the game the right way. And was fortunate enough to be kind of an offensive coordinator / offensive guy there, worked with quarterbacks, running backs, and was fortunate enough to win a state title, go undefeated in 92. Got to experience the big flood there, and then came back in 93 and got beat by Greenfield in a big rival game at Greenfield, but then avenged that loss in the playoffs to win a state title. And interesting little tidbit on that. Spent about 30 minutes on the phone today with the quarterback from Hardin Calhoun from back in 92, J.D. Lorton, and him and Aaron Elmore and that group of kids that was all part of that. They're coaching that Hardin Calhoun team right now. Wow. And was talking to him, and he thinks they're the real deal over there right now. And I saw a few clips of them today, but a lot of the kids that we coached on that 92, 93 teams, their kids are playing on that team now. And so, it's kind of neat to follow those guys and all this.
That's awesome, man. Tim, I got something I got to say, because I got to piggyback off of that. Friday night, I'm probably going to go to Fisher. I'm going to watch Fisher, who's kind of struggled a little bit with their numbers. They're going to be taking on Ridgeview, who co-ops now with Lexington. And my first all-state lineman was texting me today, basically asking me, he's like, what was the lowest numbers I ever had at Fisher? And he was just concerned, because their numbers are down and they're just struggling. But it just made me feel good, because I'm going to be there Friday night with my son. I'm going to be sitting in the press box while my son's probably running around, doing whatever. But, it's funny how time flies by, and you have former players that are now on staffs, and it's just amazing. So that's a great story on your part. Tim?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Matt. A million things going on behind here. As far as is the plan, Coach, for retiring, are you going to stay here? Are you going to do a little hopping back and forth between kind of dodge the weather here a little bit, which that'd be my suggestion. But what's the plan?
We're actually going to leave here mid-October, my wife and I, and going to journey down to the University of Tennessee for Arkansas at Tennessee for my first ever SEC game. And then we've got a place down in Florida that we'll go down to from mid-October till right before Thanksgiving. Come back for the holidays with our kids and family up here, and then head back down to Florida. Hopefully, just in time to catch Illinois in a big bowl game down there on New Year's Day, or in a playoff game down there. But then stay down in Florida till sometime around April 1, and then get back up here. And so we're going to hopefully dodge snowflakes and all that around here and spend a little time in both places.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone in the world that would blame you for getting out of here in the winter. That's the benefit, I would suppose, for retiring, and being able to do that is awesome. One thing I want to ask you, Scott, and something that I've observed over the years with you, you definitely always seem to be in a leadership role, whether it was the Coaches Association, whether it was through IHSA. You mentioned the state titles games that you played in. Was that always kind of by design, and that just kind of happened, hit or miss? But you always seem to be very upfront and out front as far as a handful of coaches that were, let's face it, kind of mouthpieces for the profession in general.
Yeah, I don't know if that was my intention when I started. I was truly blessed to work with Charlie Raich at Roxana and have him as a mentor my early years in coaching, and Coach Johns. And Coach Johns was such a tremendous person, and he got me connected with, a lot of good people. Dan Bowman at Greenfield, John Elder, people across the state. And, Terry Roach, who was kind of early on back in that day. But there was a lot of guys that, allowed me to do things. And, I was just kind of, my life lived with me and allowed me to do so many things that, led to this success. And, I was just really passionate about it. Not only about football, but high school athletics. And I was passionate about the IHSA and, the goods and the bads and the ups and the downs and, all the things that go on with them. I was just passionate about all the things that I was involved in.
I'd like to add on to that too, Tim. I've been at many games out at Tolono where Scott was athletic director and was handing plaques and trophies to championship teams. And I can just tell you, world class, does things the right way. Scott, I want to go back to that Hardin Calhoun thing real quick, because you stated that you started out as a quarterback coach, kind of a quarterback, maybe a quarterback whisperer. So here's my thing. After I saw the debacle on Monday night between Caleb Williams and the new coach.
You had to go there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
You had to go
there. Because I could see the pain by 1,000 paper cuts on Ben Johnson's face with Caleb Williams as the night was going on. And this other kid from Nazareth just kind of kept plugging along. And I thought it was a tale of two little scenarios there. So I have my question is, how has quarterback play changed from the time you started at Hardin Calhoun to now RPO stuff? And how much is that dynamic between the head coach usually and his floor leader or field leader, the quarterback? And how did you go about developing and creating that?
Yeah. Well, I think that the quarterback, even when I was at Hardin, which was the quarterback of the kid I was talking to today, we threw it a whopping 27 times in 14 games in 1992.
Nice.
But there's a lot of different styles of success. But I think the one trait that always comes out is the quarterback position and who's going to be your leader. And, most of the time when we had our really successful teams at Unity, our quarterback was a big leader. And, probably the biggest thing that I've left this year is the Eisenminger kid who's there now, who's committed to Central Missouri. And he's a really, really good player. In 2 years as a sophomore and junior, he had about 70 touchdowns for me and threw, 8 interceptions total. And the game, we were able to get a little bit more complex, a little bit more sophisticated. But, I think that there's just a lot more going on. But at the end of the day, his leadership and his ability to do things always played out. And I think that, it doesn't always have to be the quarterback be the leader. But I do sure think that it helps to have that guy be really in tune with what's going on and a sound guy and, not a guy that gets up and down and highs and lows. You've got to have somebody that can maintain a level of calm. Anymore the college game and the pro game has turned into if a wide receiver catches an 8-yard pass for a first down, he's going to do a dance and let everybody know he made a first down. And it'd be hard to have a quarterback doing that and still be ready for the next play. But we got a good one at Tolona right now. Dane's a really good player and put on some weight this year. He's bigger now than he's been. They're running him a little bit more than what I did. He's a really good player.
Matt, by the way, I've watched that Nazareth kid do that a few times, and he's a winner. Coach, you've had guys like that. That kid, Matt, is just a winner.
Man.
All there is to it.
Yeah, well, I know for 3 quarters he got the freaking snots beat out of him, and then it just kind of something clicked. And and I know that it's nice to have a guy underneath center that has moxie and savvy. And I was lucky I had good players, but I would have someone special running the wing tee offense at Fisher. And I know you had the same thing, all that time at Unity. You had to have someone back there controlling that because you've changed a little bit. You used to do a lot of midline, inside, outside veer option, stuff like that. And then you went to RPO, and you got to have a guy that knows that, and at the same time is going to take a little bit of a butt chewing every once in a while.
Yeah, Matt, but I think the one thing that I think is still true, ever since I started, and I think if you look at that game on Monday night, I think the one thing that really stuck out to me is JJ McCarthy's play improved once they started running the ball better.
Yeah.
And, once they were able to, it's a lot easier to throw the ball whenever you're chunking 8 yards at a play and they're having to add extra guys into the box and, RPO or run it or, throw it. But, things are a little bit tougher. I remember watching the Super Bowl last year, and the Eagles were able to get so much pressure on the quarterback with a 4-man rush. And I think that's why you're seeing some of these guys get paid the money they're paying who are edge rushers and do those things. And, if you can rush 4 and get home and, you can do good things.
No doubt. Coach, before you mentioned college and SEC a little bit, and I know Matt and I are big college football fans. you see what's going on now with NIL and all the stuff that's happening. I mean, I don't know. Does it really matter in the end of the day to you? I know it's a complicated subject. There's no question, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm like everyone else, I think, especially our age range. You know, I'm glad the kids are able to get benefits somewhat off of their name, image, and likeness. But I mean, the worst thing you could do is turn college football into pro football, in my opinion.
Yeah. I wish there was some sort of a parameter that said, hey, if you come to Illinois and you stay for 4 years and you are on track to graduate and you're going to class and doing the right things, we're gonna pay you to stay and be a good person and get in line. I'm not a fan of going in the portal and getting paid $7 million to transfer to Duke, as that kid did the other day. And I just think there's something to be said. If you want to reward a kid at Illinois because he's doing things to bring in TV money and all that, well, let's make sure he's an Illinois kid and reward those kids. And I think that would be really beneficial. But I'm not sure how they get that that back in the bag now, as crazy as it is. I think the NFL's got a better plan than what college does right now.
Yeah, they have a plan.
It was a pretty nice gift for old Illinois football yesterday, huh?
How about that, huh? Wow. That's big. So that's really big. So again, happy for Illinois and the success that Brett Bielema was having, obviously. And I think we all agree, especially Mr. Orange Man at the bottom of the screen here.
He's a good person. He's doing it the right way. And, I was up for a couple fall practices this year, and I'm just a little nobody up at practice with Coach Ryan. And every time I show up, he always tracks me down and walks over and says, "Hi, Coach Hamilton." And it means a lot when, you're from a small school, you never had anybody play Division I football, and yet the head coach will still take 2 seconds out of his time to walk over and call you by name and welcome you to practice.
Yeah, I'll argue one of the best hires they've made was Pat Ryan. No doubt about it. No question. Yeah. So,
Coach, I want to just kind of get this big question here. You're now retired. You're now sitting back. You're watching the game, and it's going to be different. But you seem like you got a smile on your face, and you're going to be going to Florida. But if you could reflect on all the years that you've been in high school football and you've done it, now you're watching it, what could you say about the state of the game right now? There's a lot of things going on with the 8-man concept, flag football. More females are becoming more involved in football. Equipment has changed drastically over the years. What's your take on all those things? There's a lot of little things I want you to cover, but I mean, if you could cover it, just maybe talk about some of that stuff.
Yeah. First of all, I think the game's in a better place safety-wise for kids. I think that how we're protecting kids and how we're treating kids and getting them the care that they need and doing those things is first and foremost. This is a game for high school kids that are, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. And, they got a long life ahead of them. And, I think the best thing we can do as coaches is protect those kids. And whether that's the things they put in for heat, whether that's the things they put in for lightning, or it's the things they put in for concussions. I haven't always agreed with everything they've done when it comes to that. But when you stop and think that, hey, they're doing this for kids' safety, it's hard to argue with anything that they've done. So I think the game's a much safer place for kids. I remember 10, 12 years ago, there was this big raise to, this big push to get kids to not play football and this and that. And I think that some of the safety has really gone a long way to do that. But, I still believe that I've had a lot of kids come back over the years and kids that, have just said, hey, what you did with making us come to the weight room and holding us accountable and making us work hard has made us better. And so I think that the game, whether it's football, I always hear people say it's the greatest game. And, obviously I lean that way from the fact that I was a head coach for so long. But as an athletic director, there's a lot to be said for being involved in IHSA sports. I know that the IHSA has, their haters out there, or the people that want to be critical, but I've sat in on too many meetings with those guys, and I don't think people understand just the diversity that they're dealing with, from, Southern Illinois to Chicago Public League to the suburb schools to, not to mention the public-private debate, all the things that they're trying to manage. And but yet you turn around and the great things that they're doing for high school kids in Illinois is, I still think back to my days as a high school athlete. And, I always tell our kids as an athletic director, I always told our incoming 8th graders, I don't care what you do, but find something to do and do as many things as you can in high school, because you're gonna really appreciate that as you move through life.
Yeah. There's no question about it. And you're right. And Scott, I was one of those guys that was, the mouthpiece and critical, and until I finally got to know some of the people around IHSA and getting to know them and realizing, hey, what they really are in it for the right reasons and trying to do the right things. And, again, it's you talk about a thankless job. I mean, they have to put up with a lot and have to deal with a lot. So, yeah, I think that goes for all three of us. They have a very difficult job, and I wouldn't, that would be very difficult to try to manage all that stuff and keep everyone happy, which we all know you can't keep anyone happy anymore. So, Coach, as far as your career, and you obviously have had some great teams, who's that one team for you?
Yeah, it's funny. At my retirement party, one of our coaches drew up a 32-team tournament. We had to play out a 32-team tournament as to who would win. And boy, I tell you what, there became a lot of heated discussions as we got through that. And there's certain teams that have, it's really hard to compare the teams from I was a big fan of our 1998 team. And it's really hard to compare a team from 1998 when I was 4 years as a head coach and a very young staff versus, our teams that played at the end of my career when, the number of coaches that we had were so much better, and our weight room was better and our training was better. And so it's hard to compare. Just been fortunate to coach some really good teams, and some teams didn't get a great draw, in the playoffs, or some teams didn't stay healthy at the right time in the playoffs, and so there's different things, but we were really fortunate to have some really, really good teams and play some great games. And there's some games I'd love to have over again. There's some games that, as we're going through, and it's the ones we want to talk about are always seems to be the ones we got beat in. So,
everyone, always.
But, I go back to, my days of playing Stillman Valley in our 2000 state championship game, which was my first state championship game. And Coach Lawler and I have, maintained a good friendship and talked quite a bit. Then there's those programs that I never had, in 31 years. Coach Rentz and I from Wilmington talk. In 31 years, we never played each other. Wilmington played St. Joe 5, 6, 7 times, and it's one place I never did go, and we never did see those guys. And but the battles with Williamsville over the years have kind of been epic. So we've just had some really good games, and just some great times.
So you're not giving me an answer, is what you're telling me.
The 98 team.
The 98 team, I would tell you this: the 98 team was way up there. Our 2005 team, probably the greatest season was our 2009 quarterback Dylan Sturgeon. He had an unbelievable run to get us to the title game. But my pick was the 2011 team, which we didn't make it to the state title game. We got beat. we had in 2009, we played in the title game. 2010, 2011, we got beat in the semis at Stillman and at Addison Driscoll. And then in 2012, we lost in the state championship game again to Aurora Christian. And but my pick was 2011, if that matters at all.
Great. Yep, absolutely it matters. Matt?
Coach, I got a couple of questions here. Number one, maybe just real quick, and I hope this doesn't take up too much time, Tim, but Scott, give me the, I don't know if you want to do it with coaches or maybe just the people in the IHSA. Give me 4 of your guys that are going to be on the Mount Rushmore of, IHSA football. I know for me, John Elder's going to be on there for me personally, because he just, I'm connected to that family and what have you, and I can name others, I think you're very important too. But who are your 4 guys on that Mount Rushmore?
Well, 3 of them
make it 5 if you want it.
Yeah, 3 of them are really easy. Charlie Rach, who was my high school head coach and who was a huge mentor of mine as I was just getting started in the profession. Rick Johns, who took me on as a young kid and gave me a lot of responsibility and helped me get the job up at Unity. And that all came about with they had some classic games with Arcola back in the days with the Monahan boys and all that. And so they helped me get, Rick helped me get that and was really important to me. Coach Duvall, Coach, there is no doubt that I became a better coach because of my preparation for his teams. Not just the week we played them, but it was 365 days a year, all year long. What do we got to do to beat Coach Duvall in St. Joe? And so those 3 would be on there for sure. And then, that the other one, Dave Fink, I know he wouldn't be a popular choice for some, but he was my right-hand man for, 29 coaching years, 31 years we worked together. We went through a lot together, and he had my back, I had his back. And so, that would probably be my guys.
Pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good.
Tim, I got to ask you, are you ready to ask? We got to ask him.
Fire away. I'm waiting. It's on your plate.
We're putting together the band. We're putting together the band, Scott. We're gonna create a rock and roll band, and Tim and I are gonna fight for like lead guitar, lead vocals. 2 questions. Number 1, where would you be at in our band? And then number 2, how has music evolved from when you first started out to when you left?
Well, I would be the equipment guy carrying stuff in and setting stuff up for you guys. That's for sure. You definitely don't see my musical talents in there at all.
I couldn't carry a tune if it had handles. So.
But as far as it's so bad. When the kids were in the locker room with the music, I had to shut the door and leave the locker room because I couldn't stand how loud they played it, and I couldn't understand what was being said or sung or.
Yeah.
So just get me some of that old country music with Johnny Cash or some of those old time guys, and I'm completely happy.
I'm going to tell you right now, when you go down to Knoxville, Tennessee, and you watch that marching T and those guys run out, and I've done that. I did that with Andy Romine. It will change your thoughts on the power of SEC football when they run out to that T. That's an amazing thing, man.
It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to do an SEC game for years, and I convinced my wife that this was the year, and so we're ready to roll.
Yeah, you'll have a blast. It's a different world. It's just a completely different world, and a world we would all embrace here. There's no
absolutely.
It's a different world for sure.
Hey, I got a question for you. Did you get all your bracketology done for this week? You got everything all figured out?
Well, Seuss has got a lot to do with that. Obviously, he does his thing, and I believe he's got stuff done. I'm still a little bit behind. I usually wait a week or 2 before I really get going with my stuff, but he's all over it. He's unbelievable, and it's crazy. One thing I want to throw at you and get your thoughts on: what would you change if you could go back? If there's a if there's a rule, if it's something major, something minor, is there maybe one or two things that you would always, if you had the power to go ahead and change, what would it be?
Yeah. Well, this probably won't be an overly popular answer, but I wish there was some way to try to do something with the public-private debate.
It's fair.
Good answer.
I think that, as I watch, I'll never forget watching the playoff show years ago, and Chester had one of the best teams that they'd ever had. They were 9-0, and they drew Althoff round 1 and 1A because of all that. And I just think for some schools, when we ended up in 2004, we ended up having to play up at Montini right before they closed down. And I think that's the one thing. I'm not a proponent of the, public in one, in 6 classes and privates in 2 or something, but I just wish there was something so that, like last year it really wasn't a great.
It wasn't a good moment. It wasn't a good moment. Let's face it. It really wasn't.
We'll see how things. I know they've kind of gone back a little bit to where they were. I thought that's probably one of the biggest mistakes the IHSA has made was when they went and changed that whole to a 2-year cycle and started using average enrollments and like DePaul Prep. How big a school they had playing in that 4A game. There's just some things that in that I wish there was a little bit better way to manage all of that. And, that's probably the thing that if I had some, thing I could change, or if there's something that I could do, there would be a way to figure that out so that it would be a little bit, more equitable and things like that for a lot of those schools that get into those games.
If you win $100 million, will you make a Scott Hamilton domed football stadium for the IHSA for us to play our state championship games in? Please, Scott, will you do that for us?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't win all that Powerball stuff last week, so we're just stuck having to be outside. But I will tell you this. I do like the fact that I think that when I started, the games were at ISU, and now that they're back there, I do think it's the best environment. I love the University of Illinois. I love going to the games. I'm a huge Illinois football fan. But I know that my brother played in a state championship game there against New Lenox Providence Catholic in 1989. And so I've been there in terrible weather, but I still think that it's the best environment. It looks full, it acts full. They want you there. So I do think it's at the best place, right now. So
I agree. I really do. I thought Illinois was a very good host. I thought they did a really good job when they had the games. I thought Northern did a fine job. But overall, you take in the renovations Illinois State has done. You take in that intimacy of Hancock, where it's not Memorial Stadium and 75,000 seating capacity. Now, to be said, Coach, there's positives of that as well. It's a Big Ten facility, Big Ten school. So there are positives of that. I personally liked when they rotated a bit because I think it gave some other places a chance to let them host it. But I agree with you. If I got to go with a place, I'm going with Illinois State.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it wasn't as big a deal for our kids to play at the U of I because we're 5 minutes from there and our kids are on campus up here and are around it all. So maybe that was a little bit unique too for us. But I like being to feel like it's full. There's nothing like going to a Friday night football game and you look on one side and the bleachers are packed. You look on the other side, their bleachers are packed. Both end zones got people, crammed on the end zone fences, and it's loud. And then you'd go to a state championship game and you'd look around, there's just nobody there at Illinois. And, just.
Scott, what's the best football atmosphere you ever coached in?
Yeah, give us a couple.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, back in the 2004, 2005, when we were playing St. Joe, we played them in the playoffs and in the regular season 2 years in a row. And we were bringing in portable bleachers. We had cement trucks with the St. Joe logo on one and a Unity logo on one in the end zones. We just had some, 6, 7, 8 deep. That was pretty amazing. So that's probably my number one that would stick out to me. It was also nice that as big a rivalry as we had and as much competitiveness as there was, it never turned into anything ugly. And it was the utmost respect from two communities that sure hated to lose to each other. But that would be one. Playing up at Stillman, we had a couple great games up there in a really good environment. Williamsville would probably be up there. Our 2012 playoff game over there was nuts. Big time atmosphere over there. And I'll tell you another thing that's really changed in my time, probably as much as anything, now that I start to bring up some of this stuff, is the facilities.
Yeah.
Our facilities, are second to none for, small school with our wrestling facility and all of our turf and everything. But, we played over at Williamsville a couple years ago in the playoffs, and they got the new field house.
Unbelievable.
It's hard to imagine what some of the people have done with facilities. And, but yeah, I would say that one of the neatest things that I wasn't ready for was coming out. We're on the field, and Addison Driscoll comes out of the evergreen trees with the bagpipe playing, and I wasn't prepped for that. Like I said, I never did get a chance to see the motorcycles up at Wilmington. I would have loved to see that.
It's awesome. It's great. Coach, you got to come up for a game. You really do.
Yeah. The bagpipes caught me off guard, though. I had not heard about. Most of the time I kind of knew. I always would, if I was going someplace new, I would call and, hey, what's going on here? How do I need to prep our kids? But I was not prepped for that.
I want to say one of my best memories is number one, watching you, and I hardly knew you, but I knew of the greatness of your program, was when there was a young Scott Hamilton taking on Coley Welder over to Lido. That was an incredible atmosphere.
Yeah, that was our 98 team. That did not turn out well.
I know. And then I've always was compelled and just completely enthralled with your matchup against Mark Ramsey when he had a Central A&M team. And I think everybody in the area wanted to see that matchup. He didn't have a lot of players out, but he's such a good coach. And let me ask you something. Would you ever get back into high school football coaching like Mark Ramsey's doing?
I have said that if, somebody that I really liked wanted me to come hang out a day or two a week or something, maybe, but the game with Ramsey in 97, they beat us in the playoffs, and I'll never forget. They're beating us bad. The weather was absolutely awful. Everybody's miserable. On our side, their people are all, it's amazing how it can be 20 degrees on my sideline and 80 on their sideline when you're winning. But they're beating us by 30 points. There's no running clocker that time, and it's over. And they have a kid do something wrong, and one of their linemen grabs this kid by the face mask, grabs their own kid, and just starts screaming at him like, this game isn't over. What are you doing? And they went on to beat us. So that was 97. And then in 2000, that at that point, A&M was the big dogs. And
they were. That was a neat
atmosphere. They came over to our place with their semi-trailers and all that stuff, and they kind of ran roughshod over us. We were new to it all. And in 2000, I'll never forget, my principal called me in right before that semifinal game, and he called me in and says, hey, I just want you to know something. A&M called, and they want to bring their semi-trailers and all this stuff back over, and we told them that we would have some bleachers for them, but there was no semis going in. And we were out for pregame warm-up, and I was playing scout team quarterback, slipped, and their fans are just mocking me and going on and on and on. And luckily, we had a really good game, and I credit that to we finally got over the hump. We kicked off. We were up by 7 or 8 points. We kicked off late in the third quarter, and their kid's coming out of the end zone with it, and our kid rips it out of his hand and turns it in for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Danny Schwartz. It's amazing how you can remember some of that, but and that kind of propelled us to that next step.
Great atmosphere, great game. I remember that a lot.
Matt, that's a show we're going to have to do. Atmosphere.
Yeah,
we got to do it.
I know we got to get going here pretty soon, Coach. But I'll say 1996. You don't remember this, but you were at Leroy High School. It was Leroy against Beardstown, and I think you were there at the game with your staff, and you were watching, and everybody was mesmerized at Leroy running no huddle. Gary Tipsorn had that great team in '96 with Coach Selesnik, and they won the state championship. And I remember you were sitting there and you asked me, I was kind of standing there, and you're like, do you know any of their signals? And, even as a fan and as a coach, you were on the sidelines, doing due diligence.
Well, that was that run in 96. We lost to Leroy in the playoffs, and they won it. 97, we lost to A&M. They won it. 98, we lost to Aledo, and they won it. So it was we were undefeated in all those years too. So it was interesting. But I will tell you this: I think that one of the big traditions that was always eye-catching, I always loved watching the other team, was when our kids would come out to Hell's Bells, and we'd have the big video board blaring and everything blaring, and everybody would kind of take and snap their head around. And I think that was kind of our little trademark that we that our kids really liked, and we loved having that tradition at our place.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Got to make it special. You definitely
have
to make it special. You do. Coach, again, we can't thank you enough for joining us. It's great you took the time, and loved having you. We'll definitely call you back on, and just enjoy this year. Have a blast.
Yeah. I will. I'm looking forward to seeing it from the other side, and we'll see how Friday night goes. I'm going to be standing up next to Coach Fink up in the press box, and give him a gentle nudge if I need to. So, but I'm looking forward to it. And Sam's already told me that I got a spot for, he's going to get me a spot for the state championship game. So I'm all happy about that, 'cause I'll be back. So, you know what? Love the game. Love everything that it did for me and my family. And, you know what, just hope to stay involved in some way as I move forward.
Awesome.
Thank you so much,
Thanks
Coach.
again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it anytime.
All right, Scott Hamilton joining us, and Matt, great to have him on board, and could talk to him we've almost talked to him for an hour, and haven't even really cracked it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's great. No, it's good stuff.
I have
for sure.
a lot of admiration for him, and he's had some heartbreak hotel losses, man.
Yeah.
Because every time he talks about that 96, 97, 98 run, you look at the state championship games he played the top of the top, the best of the best every time he was in those state title games.
All right, let's go. We'll go through 8-man, then we'll go 1A through 4A rankings, just give some thoughts and a little bit of preview going into this week. Matt, we're going to start in 8-man, okay?
Yep.
So we will use, again, NUIC football, their 8-man rankings, the week 3 rankings as follows. Receiving votes: Flanagan, Cornell, Woodland, Milford, Cissna Park, and Metro East Lutheran all receive votes. Number 10, South Fork. 9, Ridgeview. 8, Alden Hebron. 7, South Beloit. 6, West Carroll. 5 is St. Anne. 4 is Pawnee. 3, Polo. 2, Amboy. And, still number 1, Milledgeville. Matt, thoughts on 8-man?
Well, again, I'm kind of repeating some of the same things I've said over the last few years. You have a very, very heavy NUIC flavor there. You got Polo, you got Milledgeville, and West Carroll. What a great story. They didn't have football. They were getting the heck beat out of them. Decided to take the high road, go to 8-man. Now they're doing really well.
So I'm assuming the Salukis and Macho Man weren't good enough for Coach Hamilton. All of a sudden,
I didn't have him in there. Hey, listen, by the way, I'm going to be getting another Macho Man too. So I'm going to get 2. Dig it. Oh, yeah. Dig it.
all right. Let's move on. We've got AP rankings this week. So 1A for week 3, receiving votes, quite a few actually. Deer Creek, Mackinac, Dwight, Oakwood, Arthur Lovington, Atwood, Hammond, or ALH. Anawan, Wethersfield, Greenfield, Northwest all receive votes. Matt, 10. Brown County, tied for 8th is Calhoun and Galena, both 2-0. Number 7 is Clifton Central. 6 is Casey Westfield. 5, Lena Winslow, who obviously lost to Stockton. We'll talk about that in a minute. 4, Gibson City, Melvin Sibley. 3 is Newman Central Catholic. 2, Stockton. 1, Camp Point Central. And Matt, I will tell you the voting difference was 1 point between Stockton and Camp Point Central for number 1. Camp Point beat them by 1 vote.
Again, I'll just say this. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens with Stockton after that. Really just a statement game and a statement win. That game was at Lena, and that was, it was a beatdown, but at the same time, don't count out Lena. I think also, too, it'll be interesting to see now that I've talked to Scott, we've listened to him, how good is Hardin Calhoun going to be? Gibson City, I think, has a really good football team this year. They destroyed Fisher. They're going to have a big game against Leroy coming up this Friday night. And a team I think you should watch out for that I'm going to watch Friday night, it is Ridgeview Lexington. They are highlighted by Joe Cheever at running back. Zane Hoffman is a very fast junior, runs a 10.7, 100-yard meter, 100-yard meter time. And then Matt Barnes is kind of taking over this program. This is his second year, takes over for Hal Kyoto. He's kind of a Hal Kyoto disciple, but he's a guy that is just really, really smart. He played at Monmouth College. He played for Coach Mike Benton at Ridgeview. And Mike will tell you that he's the smartest kid that he's ever coached in high school football. And they got some big guys. And I think that'd be really interesting to see kind of what happens there. Tri-Valley is in a big, crucial game. We'll talk about them. They'll be taking on Tuscola this Friday night also.
Mentioning Tri-Valley, we move on to Class 2A, the Week 3 AP poll. Receiving votes, Nashville, DuQuoin, Ridgeview, Lexington, El Paso, Gridley, and Chester. Number 10, Aurora Christian. They're new to the poll. Also new is Eastland Pearl City at 9. 8 is Pana. 7 is Johnson City. 6 is Westville. 5, Seneca, the Fighting Irish. 4, Farmington. 3, Rockridge. 2, Tri-Valley. 1, Maroa Forsyth, getting all 10 available first place votes. Matt?
Maroa awfully good. I don't have the name of the kid, but Farmington with Coach Toby Vallis has a freshman quarterback starting and playing and being very effective. I apologize to the farmers over there. I will get that name. I apologize. We mentioned Tri-Valley. We mentioned Ridgeview. There also is another heavy contingency or flavor of the NUIC with Eastern Pearl City. Taylor Ridge, Rockridge is good. It's going to be interesting to see how 1, 2, and now as we go into 3A is going to be, because I think 3A is really going to be heavy.
Yeah. Speaking of Maroa, I believe his first name's Ryan Shepard, quarterback for Maroa this year.
Yes.
Huge game. Threw for 7 touchdowns, almost 500 yards passing. I did nominate him for Bears Player of the Week. So fingers crossed, we'll find out. Hopefully, the Bears generally announce it on Thursday, so we'll find out if he won. But again, tremendous performance. Thought definitely worth a mention. 3A, according to AP, receiving votes: Monticello, Dupec, Monmouth, Roseville, and Johnsburg. Johnsburg, I haven't heard that name in a while in the poll. 10, Bishop Mac. Yep, it might be back, Matt. It sounds like it. Pretty good group there this year. 9, Bloomington Central Catholic. 8, Richmond Burton with a big win over Cole City. 7 is Williamsville. 6 is Wilmington. 5 is St. Bill Ogden. 4, Tolono Unity. 3 is Althoff. 2, IT Catholic. And 1, Byron.
Well,
Thoughts?
I will just say this as we're going into week 3. Byron had a couple of injuries. I mean, when you get 2 heavy hitting teams like Byron and Dixon, it's kind of, sometimes you sit there and you're like, what? You even mentioned it, like, this is weird. These guys are playing so early in the season. It was a complete demolition derby. Considine got a little bit of an injury. He had to sit out. There was another kid that hurt his leg real bad. Just a rock 'em sock 'em football game. You hope everybody gets better. Tolono Unity is going to have a big time matchup. We're going to see what they're really about from the people I've talked to. And I think Scott was kind of tippy-toeing around it, rightfully so. Tolono Unity is the real deal. And are they going to be able to go toe-to-toe and take on this Bloomington Central Catholic team? It's going to be really interesting to see. Really interesting. I mean, that's just going to be a big game.
No doubt. Let's go on to 4A receiving votes. Dixon, Benton, Centralia, Woodstock, and Columbia. Number 10 is Carterville. 9 is Rochelle. 8, Coal City. 7, Sacred Heart Griffin. 6 is Metamora. Yeah, this is a good class. 6 Metamora. Tied for 4 is Bree Central and Mount Zion. Mount Zion coming off a loss to Rochester. 3 is Morris. 2 is Rochester. 1, Montini. As I mentioned, Matt, Rochester, Mount Zion went toe-to-toe. No surprise there. Very good game. Rochester able to pull that out. And, again, some heavyweights. See Metamora there. A little strange to see Sacred Heart in 4A, but I guess that's kind of where things have gone, huh?
Yeah. I watched the Mount Zion and the Rochester game, and I watched that on TV. Mount Zion had control of that game. And I'll just say this, Derek never flinched. He never got nervous. The athleticism just kind of took over there in the fourth quarter. And, that's going to be interesting. I think Metamora they're going to be very, very tough to beat. Who were the other teams there late 6 through
Montini
10?
Montini at 1, Rochester 2, Morris 3. Mount Zion and Breeze are tied for 4. Metamora at 6, Sacred Heart 7, Coal City 8, Rochelle at 9, 10 is Carterville.
Rochelle, let's see how they stack up against a good Lena Winslow team. And then I think Breeze, I said this before, with Coach Short, they had a team last year that's kind of the team that they thought was going to go all the way, and they fell a little bit short. They have regrouped well, and they're doing well, and watch out for them in the 4A South. I
originally had planned to go to that Rochelle Lena game, but with Lena losing, just kind of lost a little bit of the appeal. So I ended up deciding to go on another game. But you're right. That should be – I just think it's a really intriguing match. 2 programs, very similar offensively. Obviously, Rochelle, a bit bigger of a school, but Rochelle, even to this day, Kyle Kissick does a great job with that program. And it's Ironman football at Rochelle. I don't care how big their enrollment is. The best 11 are playing on both sides of the ball. And that's 8 of them, and that's what's going to happen.
They're going to have the right 11 out there for your offense, special teams, and defense. And I can tell you right now, with their head coach, the apple doesn't fall too far off the tree. He's going to be a Kevin Crandall disciple. Yep. And I can guarantee you one thing. They're going to run up the line of scrimmage. They're going to try to get underneath your chin strap, and they're going to try to run the ball. And so, maybe whoever wins the coin flip in that game might have the advantage in the ball game. You never know.
Yeah. All right. That's about going to do it. We're going to wrap it up. Is there anything you need to get in before we wrap up here?
No, we had a great talk with Coach
Scott Hamilton, for sure.
It was worth every minute, and hopefully down the road we might have another guy like that pop up.
I have a feeling we might have a heavy hitter or 2 join us down the line. What do you think about that? Huh?
Thank you for allowing me to do that. I think it makes our show better.
Oh, glad to do it. Always glad to have them. And I got a little bit more of a relationship with the next guy I'm thinking about bringing in here. We'll see. But again, it was great to have Scott Hamilton. Like I said, really a leader and a figurehead for IHSA football for a long time, for sure. Yeah. And always admire that about him.
He has the utmost respect of the IHSA brass, Craig Anderson, Sam Knox, all those guys. And then I think everybody in the state of Illinois. And you could argue in terms of –
he's trying to get me over an hour. Leng's trying to get us over an hour. It's not going to happen.
You could make this argument in terms of quality guys for the Mount Rushmore. Scott Hamilton's on that Mount Rushmore.
That's it. Can't say any more than that. For Matt Lang, I'm Edgy Tim. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. And by all means, go out and see a game, will you?